Hey kids. Ah, that was good. Anyway, if you've been paying attention to our videos for a while, you know that I'm Dave Murray, the big guy at Mayniax Branding, and today I figured I'd just do something a little different, and I thought I'd tell you the story of why we decided on Mayniax, Mayniax, branding for our own brand's name. If you've been following us for a while, you know that our naming convention is basically when we're naming a brand name, we want to make up a word. And that's done by either spelling an existing word differently, it's done by telescoping, which is where you bring two words together. Like Microsoft was microchip and software, so that's what telescoping is. So you can do that. You can look up anagrams and try and find new words that way. You know, just play with the letters. But I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can try and come up with a word that doesn't exist yet. And the reason that you want to come up with a word that doesn't exist yet is because you want to make sure that the word you come up with will only stand for the thing you want it to stand for. You're basically creating a word, meaning you get to define it. For us, we're playing with the idea, you know, Mayniax is about branding, it's about entrepreneurship. So I still, you know, we still have to play a little bit and find out which one do we really want it to be about. And the more I think about it, the more I'm leaning towards entrepreneurship, though it is a branding company, but I digress. And hopefully what I just said there will help you out a little bit in naming your own company if you're not getting a hold of us to do it for you. Slackers. But here we go. So years ago, Vanessa and I had a business called Good Stuff Studios, and it was an illustration company. You know, it did illustration, it did product photography, it did graphic design, and we knew that after a while it wasn't really helping people. Like, to do those things on their own without an overall strategy, especially when you're talking to small business owners who simply don't know better. It's not that they're not smart, they just don't have that area of expertise, that knowledge base, that we were finding ourselves a little upset with the fact that we can't actually help people as a graphic design company, you know, illustration, photography. That doesn't actually help people in the long term when you're talking about entrepreneurs and business owners who want to really ramp up their stuff. But, and according to Vanessa, and I've read stuff that I think this is true, I came up with the idea that maybe we should have a branding firm. Now, I say that, she's the one that actually pushed it, and we both agree on that part. And so, you know, after a while, we were studying and everything, and I looked, and I'm going, okay, branding, holy crap, this all makes sense. And boom, we were off and running. We decided right then and there in 2000, I think we decided in 2013, we're going to be a branding company. We're going to figure this out, because everything about what it was made sense to me. Made sense in her head as well. And maybe that's because, for me anyway, I grew up a strategist. I love those games and all that stuff. I love focus. It never made sense to me when a company would go out and say, okay, we do this, but now we're going to do this as well, because I'm thinking, well, that just seems weird. Like years ago, Jaguar, I think it was, came out with a cheaper Jaguar. So now everybody was thinking, oh, hey, that guy's got the cheap Jaguar instead of that guy's got a Jaguar, you know, that kind of thing. So branding just made sense in our heads. Anyway, another digression, but that part's kind of important to the story, I would think. So after we decided we were going to create a branding company, I was driving around for a couple weeks. I was trying to come up with the name. I was going, man, I don't know what to call this. What do we call this? And this is why we know that it can take a long time to come up with another brand's name. It's a pain, because not only are you trying to come up with one for yourself, but you also have to look it up on social media to say, okay, we have the URL, but does anybody else have it here and there and everywhere else, you know? So it gets tricky. It gets tricky trying to come up with a brand name. I understand why so many people that specialize in only naming charge a lot of money, is because it takes a lot of time, just the research part. Because even if you come up with something you love, you research and you're like, crap, it's already gone. Anyway, I really need to lesson in not digressing. Here we go. Like I said, after a couple weeks, I was just hitting my head against the wall. I couldn't figure out what it was. I knew we liked to have fun. I knew we were crazy. I knew that we're a lot different than most people out there, most professionals. So I just enjoyed, I was trying to come up with just funny, wacky names and everything, but they were just hitting a wall. And finally I said, Vanessa, let's get together, just sit down for a little bit and see if we can hammer this out. We sat down, and probably Mayniax ended up being, man, I don't know, I've got different spellings of it even, but the phonetic sound of it ended up being maybe only 5 or 6 minutes it took us. After me going for 2 weeks trying to figure this out, Vanessa saying, okay, let's start playing, and in 6 minutes, we nailed the name for Mayniax branding, and in another half an hour, we had the logo. It was incredible. You know, sometimes it just hits, and boom, there it is. And Vanessa was very clear on one thing. She said, Dave, I don't want people to think we're actually crazy people. So let's not say Mayniax, Maniacs. And I said, Vanessa, that's okay, because we know from everything we know that we shouldn't spell it that way anyway. Whew, bullet dodge. So we were pretty excited. But anyway, that's exactly how we came up with the name. Sometimes you can just hit your head against a wall trying to come up with it, and then you sit down with your business partner or somebody else just to bounce ideas off, and in 6 minutes you've got it. It's nailed. We did the research. There were only a couple little accounts that had the name, but I thought, you know what, this is still perfect. Let's do this. So that's it, guys. That's a story of why Mayniax branding ended up being our brand's name. I'm going to start doing a few more of these in the future, just talking, letting you guys know some stories, what we stand for, all that. What I want to eventually get to do is start answering your questions, whether it's about me, whether it's about Mayniax as a brand, whether it's about just branding questions in general. I want you guys to feel free to just start sending us stuff and saying, I need this question answered. So go ahead, ask those questions in the comments if you have any. Tell me I'm an idiot, whatever. I'm good with all of it. I'm pretty laid back with this kind of stuff. So everybody enjoy today. And as always, because hey, I can't let this part go, stay gutsy, gang.